Hello, everybody. FAI here, and welcome back to another accureye talk sale. And in today's accureye talk sale, this is a continuation of a previous video that we probably that was recently uploaded. Talking about common problems I see when players are playing on randoms or whatever that title was called. Sorry, yeah, common problems I see with randoms. And, I wanted to talk and build around the game sense talk that we were kind of talking about when it came down to, the common problems I see with players and when they play with randoms. And, to build game sense, it's something that you just gotta really work to stride on. I mean, I know a lot of players are going to be saying, but I don't like trying to work on this game sense that you're talking about. I don't like working on the stuff that you're talking about because I just want victories, or I just want that amazing toy bomb on my card, or I want that 2K damage badge on my card. And I mean, let's face it, at the end of the day, those are great goals to work for. But if you don't have any game sense, you don't have any idea of what you're doing, or the mistakes you're making, you're going to end up just like running into the common error that I didn't talk about, but it should seem obvious, which is blaming your team, blaming the players. I mean, yes, I do say that there are a lot of bad players on Apex Legends, and there are a heck of a lot of bad players on Apex Legends, because let's face it, at the end of the day, they just don't realize the game that they're playing. They don't have the game sense. They don't have the common idea of what everyone else is doing, or what a good player would do, because you're looking for loot, or you're just taking a little stroll in the park. Whatever the question is, the point is, you're just kind of playing passively without even thinking about, like, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. Like I said, it's partly building the game sense. I mean, obviously, even for me, I will quit a lot of games, especially if I find that or realize that the game is just going in a direction where, players are just taking their time. They're taking too long looking for loot or whatever. And it does happen. I do that a lot because technically I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to waste my time, especially when I'm streaming, for watching this one player if they're not a teammate of mine that I play with, or someone I play with regularly. I don't want to waste my time with somebody who's going to basically be ending up waiting for them to maybe look through all the loot, look through all this other jazz and whatnot, and then end up running whatever. Whatever they want to do until they get a revive or something. But, at the end of the day, I'm not going to talk to these randoms because 9 out of 10 times randoms just don't listen. So, I have to build my game sense. And to build game sense, it leads into things like the 20 bomb. It leads into things like the victory. And it'll allow you to see, a much easier time, if you will, and much easier way of achieving what you want to achieve, even if you're running with randoms. I mean, and like I said, it's not easy to build game sense. Like, to build game sense, you've got to realize that it's going to take time. It's going to be something that not everyone can utilize, not everyone can do. Even in Fortnite, which is another game where I'll talk about game sense and building good game sense, as well as maybe also building good decision making and whatnot. That takes time. You gotta realize that the only way to do it is by self-improving yourself. Like, don't think about what your teammates are doing. Don't think about what your team wants you to do. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your team wants you to do. What your team wants you to do may not be what you should do. And, vice versa. That happens. What you want to do may not be what your teammates want to do. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just working the working the middle ground, if you will, and working towards, ensuring that, at least to some degree, you are performing at your top priority, your best, if you will. Now, how do you perform at your best? Well, that really is based around you. Some ideas I can give you is, of course, to, for instance, take some time to really push your limits. If you have to, try to scoot ahead of your team. Try to make your team kind of go, hey, we got to pick up the pace. Our teammate wants us to go wherever, rather it's on an attack or whatever. I mean, even in this case, here I'm trying to push my team to kind of go, hey, move the pace or pick up the pace. Let's pick up the pace and let's go on, whatever we need to do, instead of looking for loot. Because, again, with me, I'm a very aggressive player. I love getting aggressive, and I love, taking the time to kind of go, okay, if I can push a fight, I will push a fight because I want to push a fight. I want to make sure that, in general, I am under constant pushing my limits. And in some cases, pushing your limits means that you've got to just determine and, kind of go ahead and go, okay, we're going to keep pushing this way. We're going to push that way. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Because once you start doing this and once you start doing that and you start basically pushing your limits, keeping yourself in a high motion, high rate, whatever you want to call it, that makes your life a whole lot easier, and that will make it easier for you to be better at the game. And you'll see yourself getting better to where you may be dropping 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10, 20 bombs all the time. And that comes with time. Obviously, I'm not an Apex Legends player. I don't like playing Apex Legends that much, but the game sense is there. And, the other part of the game sense is determining your situation. Like, here, for instance, this is a good point where I was trying to push the enemies and my teammate just decided to drop down and go, oh, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to just, try to do whatever. And, like I said, you see me quit there because, again, they don't have a great game sense. And I'm not going to try to push them to, to tell them what's wrong because, again, they, a lot of randoms, and I didn't cover this here on common mistakes that I see with randoms, but a lot of randoms don't like hearing what you have to say. Even if you're right, let's face it, 9 out of 10 times, randoms just don't want to hear it. Because, again, you could be right, and 9 out of 10 times, you might be right. But if you have a good player on your hand, you better make sure that if they're talking to you and they're telling you something, then you better listen to what they're doing and maybe even push yourself to kind of match their pace, if you will. You don't have to match their pace, of course, but I would recommend you match their pace because, again, if they're a great player who can drop 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 bomb all the time, or even drop three people at once and they didn't even need help, then you better kind of take notes on what they're doing. What are they doing that you're not doing? And whatever they're doing that you're not doing, you better kind of go, okay, I better pick up my game and I better stick my head out a little more and not act like a dodo bird. I mean, let's face it, many players just act like dodo birds, especially you see it all the time in Fortnite. Plenty of players are acting like placement warriors or dodo birds where they're just kind of wandering around in La La Land, all just kind of looking around, taking in the scenery, maybe even not doing much in the way of trying to get into fights until they realize, oh, I'm in the last free. Great. But in some cases, these are dodo birds, especially against aggressive players, because, let's face it, there is a solo mode in Fortnite, and that's kind of what has kept Fortnite in a position where it is, and kept the interest where it is, besides great story and, and the changes that they've made, over time. It's kind of where, you got plenty of players who just want to be dodo birds, kind of just looking around, taking in the scenery, thinking this is La La Land, and then you may have an aggressive player like me come around and go, oh, hey, look, a dodo bird, we're going to take them out, because, I mean, let's face it, we can take them out if we have the skill and we know exactly what we want to do. So, that's exactly it. Other things that you want to consider, especially when building around, if you're going to build around, basically controlling the fights, controlling things and whatnot. You want to, build around being able to know, okay, is my loot good enough to, to fight this or to stick around? Because again, it comes down to partly game decision making, game sense. Remember that partly game sense comes from good game decision making, good analyzation of yourself. Are you in a good position yourself to basically pull ahead on a fight or pull ahead on something? And if you are, then great. How do you pull ahead, or how do you continue to, keep yourself on the fighting ground, if you will? And, that could be a difficult thing to, determine yourself is, what could I do? What should I do? Because again, what you should do or what you could do may not be exactly what you would do. I mean, again, if you have bad loot, like let's just say you don't have any shield cells, let's say you don't have med kits, let's say you don't have natural cover, then, you might want to duck out there. Now, you may be thinking, why the heck would I want to duck out of there? I mean, they're going to probably chase me anyway, right? Well, most likely, yes, you may have someone who chases you, but let's face it, 9 out of 10 times, unless they're super aggressive, super W keying, or super like, oh, I know this guy's low, I know this guy's going to be an easy pick-off, or I know this person's going to be an easy pick-off, then, they're not going to chase you forever. Let's face it, 9 out of 10 times, they may not chase you forever, because again, they're going to have to give up. They're going to have to give up because either A, they're going to lose track of you if they're not Bloodhound. If they're not Bloodhound, they're going to lose track of you, let's face it. But even if they are Bloodhound, they may just decide that you're not worth the hunt or you're not worth the chase because, let's face it, 9 out of 10 times, let's just realize that by chasing you, you may run into another squad. And this Bloodhound, if they're chasing you, in the case of Apex Legends, this Bloodhound, if they're chasing you, they may all of a sudden spot out someone else that they weren't, that's not you. And who knows, maybe that Bloodhound gets caught in a bad position because he chased you for so long, or they chased you for so long that you're now in a position, they're now in the point where, oh my gosh, why did I chase this person? Why in the world would I have chased this person so far only to be hunted myself? And that's something that, comes with the game sense. Is, you running away is not a sense of cowardness. Now, if you're a coward, this is how I determine someone who is a coward. Now, I'm going to say this flat out right off the bat. A coward, to me, is someone who just lays around in La La Land, looking around, going like, oh, hey, look at my weapon. It looks beautiful. Or, it's like, oh, don't worry, I'll just be right here. Don't worry, I'm watching you. I'm covering you. That's a sense of someone who's a coward. That is someone who is basically, in my opinion, a coward flat out. And, those people are basically cowards. Now, someone else who is a coward, in my opinion, is if you run away and then all of a sudden are like, oh, I'm going to run behind this wall and then hopefully not have someone spot me, because let's face it, I don't want anybody to spot me. And that's another meaningful way of someone who's determined as a coward, is like, I'm going to just hide behind this wall and hope that nobody spots me while you're over there attacking, or you're over there being under attack. Another version of a coward, in my opinion, is someone who basically goes, oh crap, I'm low on shields, I gotta run away and heal, otherwise I'm going to be under attack. And yet, here's the thing. Here your two teammates are right behind your back. We're ready to start firing and covering your back, and yet you run away behind a wall or something just so that you can heal. I mean, again, those are very, very basic examples of people who are literally cowards, and literally are technically cowards. I mean, that's just bad game decision making, bad game sense. I mean, if you have to, rush the enemy and hope that maybe your teammates have your back, and you realize that your teammates don't have your back, then make the decision and kind of put into your own game sense a thought of, okay, my teammates don't have my back, I better get out of there. But if you see your teammates, for instance, while you're getting hit, if you see your teammates all of a sudden rushing to your side, because let's say if you're paying attention to your mini map or anything like that, you probably will see your teammates rushing towards you if they need to. And, if they're rushing towards you and because they need to rush towards you, or they are rushing towards you to help you, then all of a sudden you can go into, okay, I'm going to just act as bamf fodder. I'm going to try to distract this person. And even if I go down, at least my teammates have my back, and I can, I can at least have a little bit of assistance and maybe have one of them take this person out, whoever I'm attacking. Now, I know you're already in the comments. I know you're in the comments right now, just about ready to type, but what the heck are you talking about? I won't get glory for the kill, or I won't get glory for the elimination. I want the glory for the elimination. Well, let's face it, 9 out of 10 times, good game sense comes from kind of understanding that glory is determined by assists, or even just in general kind of acting like bamf fodder for a little bit more time while your team comes in to help you. Now, yes, you may not get the elimination, but let's face it, put K to D out of your head. I've stated this before in common errors on the recent video, common errors that I see with randoms, and that's put K to D out of your head. Get K to D out of your head. Don't think about your kills / deaths. I mean, K to D is such a stupid thing that many players have just kind of thought, oh, well, that's the best way to assess skill. No. The best way to assess skill is determining how you react to a situation. And if you're reacting to a situation where all of a sudden you just have to act like bamf fodder while your team comes in to maybe assist you or get the glory, maybe one of them will take the glory off your hands, then you gotta just realize, okay, I just it wasn't my time. It wasn't my time to shine, even though I may have had to drop on this person, or I may have had to start on this person. I mean, again, a lot of players are ego based on, the fact that I have to get as many eliminations as I can. I have to get the 2,000 damage buff or whatever. I mean, that's not, realistic. And that shouldn't be your driving matter. That shouldn't be what drives you to become a great player. I mean, look at many pros like, I don't know, like Dr. Disrespect. Look at pros like Dr. Lupo, Ninja. Do they always all get like 10, 20 bombs all the time? Absolutely not. But they have a great game sense, and they've built a great game sense to realistically be in the top leagues, or whatever you want to call it, and because they are in that game sense, because they have that particular, if you will, skill, they're already kind of, if you would, thinking about it all 10 times, maybe even 2 or 3 times ahead of what you're thinking, or whatever is going on around them. That's how you really make a great, player. And, so many players are so focused on K to D or whatever, and, it's okay if you get like a 20 bomb, a 15 bomb, a 10 bomb, or whatever you want to call it, whatever you see it as. You gotta realize that and remember that, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you'll just get lucky, and sometimes you'll just get that one time where everything goes right for you. And, when everything does go right for you, great. You're going to do great. You're going to be looking awesome. But, you gotta remember and determine, like, based on your situation, what do you have available to you? Who are you playing as? And in the case of Apex Legends, which hero are you playing as? Does this hero have a package or a kit that can help you basically survive? And if they're not someone you're comfortable with, then don't take the chance of, going into an aggressive fight without maybe taking some precautions or whatever. But again, this is just the talk about game sense, and that's how you build your game sense is by basically, continuing to get understanding of what's going on. If you're a uber aggressive player like me, then you just gotta kind of go, okay, how can I be aggressive while still taking, very minimalistic risk on what I'm doing? Because again, like if you don't have a good cover system, or if you're not in good cover, like in the case of Apex Legends, where you can't build cover or whatever, and you can't build up or whatever, you have to kind of determine, okay, where is my enemy? And once I know where my enemy is, what's my plan of attack? Do I engage them full force frontal, or do I take them on in a case of, backing off and just in general, protecting myself in a covered zone where I can at least, either potentially heal, or potentially, of course, you just be in a good survival zone. That's just something that you gotta think about, is like, how do I build around this? What decisions do I have to make? And in some cases, especially in quick play, if you're just in with a bad team that are just filled with cowards, or people that are, as I above mentioned, or as I mentioned earlier in the video, then just decide to quit. I mean, someone may get mad on that team. Someone may just think, oh, well, they quit for no reason, or they quit just because of something. It's not because of that. Just quit, because again, you don't have to waste your time on somebody who's going to be doing something that you don't want to see, or you don't have to waste your time on someone who's not going to help you build your game sense a little better. Again, like I said, remember that when you're with randoms, it's all about solo performance. It's not about like, oh, we're going to roll together, we're going to be, working the same mind, we're going to be doing the same thing, we're going to be all on the same page. Not everyone's always on the same page. In fact, a lot of times, randoms are never on the same page as you. Randoms are only wanting to do one thing, which is K/D. They want to get a victory. They want to do K/D. They want to look like the number one hero on the team. And, again, that's the main problem with a lot of these players, is they only are focused on one aspect of the game. When you're playing with your friends, when you're playing with people that people that you trust, people that are just, in general, someone that is on the same page as you, then it becomes different. Then it kind of becomes a bit of, okay, we're all on the same page. We're all looking at the same goal. We're all communicating. We're all doing one thing. We're all looking after each other. Again, remember that in randoms, no one is looking after you most of the time. In fact, a lot of the time, the only person that's looking after you is numero uno. Who's numero uno? Well, numero uno would be yourself. You're the only person who's looking after you. And you gotta remember that when you are playing with randoms. Randoms are never going to be looking after you. A lot of them don't have game sense for diddly squat, man, my friends. I mean, I will already tell you, the harsh truth is, a lot of people don't have game sense at all. They are just only focused on one minor goal that really just doesn't make sense at all. It really just doesn't, give them an evolution on anything. I mean, remember, that's the one thing, is most of these players are only looking after one thing, or looking at one thing in general, which is of course just doing one thing, which is basically trying to get K/D, basically trying to look like the number one hero on the game. And because that's all they're looking for, that's all they're going to be focusing on. There's not going to be anyone who's focusing on something other than that. And because of that, you gotta just remember that it's up to you to make those decisions, to build your game sense, and basically to give yourself the advantage that you need. And if you're not doing that, then I'm sorry that you are losing a lot. I mean, it's going to be a long period of time of you just losing, just always in a point of like, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm not improving, I'm not seeing any improvement. Well, I mean, what is the main problem on why you're not seeing the improvement? It's because you're not building your game sense. I'm sorry to tell you, the truth is that you're not building your game sense. You're just kind of focused on one little thing that really is what it is, and because of that, it is basically that problem. It's where you lie on the game. It's kind of just where everything is standing in a bad position. And it's why, a lot of players are just getting upset all the time. And, the main reason you're probably getting upset a lot of the time is just because, let's face it, at the end of the day, your game sense is terrible. You don't really want to build your game sense, and you're just trying to take your time, hoping that you get carried by a team. I mean, let's face it, at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 times, I bet you a lot of you are just hoping that you get carried by a team. You get carried by a good player, or you get someone who is literally going to act as a hero on your team and just be numero uno, be the best player you have. Like, I don't know, Dr. Disrespect, or someone like Ninja, someone like Dr. Lupo, someone like, Benji Fishy. I know that some of you are probably expecting that, but remember that when you're playing with randoms, none of these players, a lot of these players don't have a good game sense. They don't have the understanding that Benji Fishy, Dr. Lupo, Ninja, even players like Tim the Tatman, or Mongrel, they don't have all that sense. And sometimes you'll run into one player that does have that kind of sense, but remember that a lot of times you're never going to have that player. So, you've got to build your own game sense. You've got to kind of determine, okay, what can I do to make myself better? And, once I know what I can do to make myself better, then it's kind of like, okay, now how can I improve upon that? How can I make it to where I'm going to be the person that everyone in my random squad is looking towards, maybe to get better, or even just expect to see great things like a victory out of. And again, that comes from game sense. That comes from building your game sense and building your knowledge on what you can or cannot do. And of course, that takes time. You're going to fail a lot. But remember that when you play with randoms, it's always going to be you who you look towards. It's always going to be your own person that determines if you are going to win, you're going to lose. It's all up to you. You can't just expect your team to really carry you through all the time. You can't expect your team to really just, be there to be on the same page as you. I mean, let's face it, 9 out of 10 times, not everyone's going to be on the same page as you. And, and no one will always be on the same page as you. They're probably going to be doing whatever they can to realistically just get into a better position themselves, or they're really only going to be focusing on just how can I potentially make myself, always win, or how can I make myself have the highest KDD ever. And that's something that you've got to just learn over time. It comes with time. It comes with, analyzing yourself, and, also just in general, knowing what can you do right now and how can I improve over time. Because, again, improving over time is something that'll come as it does. And it will get better over time. I mean, you look at me back in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 1 when I restarted Fortnite. I was still terrible at the game. I didn't have my game sense. My game sense is nowhere near where it is. My game sense is nowhere near where it is today. And my game sense was terrible. I did not know how to build. I was not I was not analyzing things. I literally just was getting fed up and frustrated with things. And that's what will happen with any game. Apex Legends, Valorant, even CSGO. It will get you frustrated for a time. And if it's not your game style, it's not your game style. You have to realize, what is your game style? Do you like being aggressive? Do you like things that are fast-paced, always on the move, always kind of like boom, 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 boom? Then you should go into games like Call of Duty, like I mentioned before. You should go into games like, Apex Legends. You should go into games like Fortnite, because again, those are fast-paced games. They're always going to go boom, 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 boom. Overwatch is even somewhat of a fast-paced game, but it also has its slow paces, and when it comes down to certain maps and certain areas. So, it all depends on you, and it's all built around like your determination to play however you think, or playing whatever you think is the overall best way to play the game. So that's my talk about game sense. I'll talk about game sense and building game sense on Fortnite as well, so you can get a better understanding, because it's a little different than it is on Apex Legends. But, with that having, and I'll also probably be talking about game decisions and stuff going forward. But, with that having been said, that is pretty much this video. So, hopefully this video has helped you understand game sense a little bit more, building your game sense, and even just in general, getting better at the game. Like I've said before, don't blame your team. Don't blame anyone other than yourself, because again, if you're playing with randoms all the time, let's face it, at the end of the day, the only person who's going to be blamed is yourself, because you don't know how to react on something that maybe you think everyone else should be, but remember that your game sense has to be number one priority when you're playing a game. And at any point in time, if you're starting to get frustrated with your team or whatever, then, take a break and kind of just reanalyze, okay, maybe it's not my team, but it's myself. Is this a game for me? Because, if I'm making these mistakes all the time, and I'm not improving, I'm not reanalyzing them, or I'm not even thinking about it, then, what is the point, I guess you could say, and that's something that you just gotta determine yourself. It comes in time, and even for me, as my journey has continued into doing like prepping for pro, even if I only get one good season, going forward, or just becoming a coach for other inspiring pros, then it's something that you just gotta realize yourself, is like, how can I do this? Or how do I become better than I am? But, that comes in time, and it comes with your own determination of yourself. But with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this video has helped you understand your game sense a little bit more, maybe get better at game sense. And with that being said, I am live on Twitch. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, get subscribed, hit the bell notification, because I know you want to know when my next video drops next. I am live on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/FA_EYE or I. I am live on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday for sure. Wednesday and Saturday, I'm usually live for about 4 to 5 hours, sometimes a little bit longer. Thursdays, I'm usually live for about 2 to 3 hours. And Monday and Tuesday, I'm usually live for about 2 to 3 hours. But yeah, with that being said, hopefully this video has helped you improve a little bit on your game sense, maybe get better on your game sense, and maybe just in general, maybe reanalyze yourself and reanalyze what's going on. But with that being said, thank you, Eric, for joining me today on this video. Thank you for watching this video, and until the next one, everybody, this is FAI or I signing out and saying farewell, everyone.